Well, hello everyone. I thought since I couldn't sleep and it's 5 a.m. now, I decided I'd hurry up and try to real fast, real quick here, real slipshod, slap job, uh, hurry up and film my near-death experiences part 2, uh, which actually describes my near-death experience. Once again, this is quite terrible. I don't have an SD mini memory card. The memory card in this phone died. In fact, this phone is flunking out, so I don't even know if I'm going to be able to post this. And I'm speaking as loudly and as best I can. All the lights are off, and I'm trying to not wake anyone in the house where I am. So this is going to be interesting, I'll tell you that. But so here's my video, my near-death experiences, part 2, losing my religion. And if this gets, I don't know how much of this I'm going to be able to record right now at the moment, but this gets as far as I can. I'm rating it R because even adults cannot handle this. I've told a couple of people what I've gone through, and most people can't handle it, believe it or not. And yet I lived it. So just to start this off, I'm showing off this. This is something that I found while I was going through my things here and I was clearing out my stuff. Turns out that, I'm at my parents' house, and I had this keychain. It was there was like 7 boxes, huge, big old tubs in the garage, full of my things. I didn't even know about it, and it had this item. This was back in the days of bubble art. This was a keychain. I absolutely loved it. My mom said that she gave it to me. She must have, because basically everything I got was from her back then. Not everything, but a lot of stuff, like trinkety things like this, because I wouldn't have had the finances and I wouldn't have spent the money on something trinkety. But yeah, this was back in the days when they were making bubble art, and this used to be a cross, and it shattered on, I think, the last year. And this is just the perfect metaphor for this video. Back in about 2007 or so, this guy ruined me, and he completely ruined me. And he was a big-time Christian, one of those Jesus freaks. And he literally used Christianity to tell me lies and to try, and he very easily and very well convinced me that he was a good man and a good person, and that Christianity is a good religion and a good God, and that all these miraculous things that I wanted to be true, that I needed to be true, such as, I'm going to be a businesswoman, I'm going to have my own business, I'm going to be successful, I'm going to not be homeless anymore, that things are going to go well. He basically, through his actions, proved that that wasn't true. He basically, through his actions, proved that not only Christianity is a lie, but that all these warnings that I've been told about human beings in general were a lie. But this is a tangent, but it explains everything so well. So I was a Christian before this. I was very much into Christianity. I was raised Christian by my parents. And this is my near-death story. So now it's basically just going to be me talking into this phone to the best of my ability. And there's not really going to be much in the line of visuals. So what ended up happening was that I was taught that Christianity, through this guy, through this experience, that Christianity is a lie. And that's well and fine, but as the old saying goes, and this is very truthful, there are no atheists in foxholes. When you're going through homelessness, when you're going through terrible illness, when you're going through being hated for being jobless and being called a deadbeat, you are going to be constantly calling out to this, a Christian God, a Muslim God, a Buddhist God, whatever, whoever your God is, you're going to be calling out to it, them, him, her, whatever. And so I, out of desperation, was constantly calling out to God. And maybe this video isn't going to be that long, I don't know. But so what ended up happening is that when, sorry, I just heard a noise in the house. I hope I didn't wake anyone up, because I really am having to talk really rather loud here instead of whisper, which is what I really should be doing. But I'm at the other end of the house, so I'm hoping that it'll be okay. I didn't turn the lights on. My dad is very abusive, and he's very old, and he doesn't sleep, basically, and every little thing wakes him up. So anyway, back to this. So yeah, just to do a real slipshod slap job of it, and to get just the basics across, and to not go into detail, what ended up happening was that I was 34 years old. I had kidney disease. Now looking back, I've learned that I actually had textbook case kidney cancer, and the hospital doesn't cure that. They have no cure for it. No institution has a cure for it. They might, someone who has a lot of money, they might put them on massive doses of chemo and, you know, all this radiation, you name it, but that won't necessarily save the person. I even, believe it or not, when I read a Mayo Clinic manual about it, they actually said that the doctor sends you home. And a lot of times the kidney cancer cures itself. I have never read that in the Mayo Clinic anything before. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. So there aren't any cures for kidney disease. I was told that it was kidney disease. I wasn't told anything else. I didn't have any insurance. I was homeless. I got my mom to bring me to the doctor. I wasn't able to move. I was dehydrated. I didn't get any other info. And looking back, it looks like what I actually had was kidney cancer. But no one was going to diagnose me, much less give me any proper medical treatment, because I had terrible medical debt. I had no money, you know, and I couldn't work because my body was not functioning anymore. So what ended up happening was that I ended up laying, believe it or not on this mattress, but in this room, on this side of the bed. I was 34 years old, and my whole mind and my whole body was being poisoned because my kidneys were not able to clear out the toxins in my system. And that can make your head go very, very loopy. And so I can remember, but because I'm under the gun here and I'm trying to hurry up and tell this so quickly, and I know I'm talking really slow, it's like, how are you telling this quickly? But remember, it's 5 a.m. and I haven't slept. So, so yeah, what ended up happening was that I became horribly dehydrated. I felt like every bit of me was throwing up, vomiting, even though nothing was coming out. Like my very pores were vomiting. I wasn't able to move my body hardly because I was so dehydrated. I crawled into my mom and dad's room in the middle of the night, probably at 4 a.m. I mean, it was dark out like it is now. And I begged them, bring me to the ER, because I was dying. I was just flat out dying. They brought me to the ER. The nurse she said that, you know, this is a very powerful drug that we usually give cancer patients, you know, put it under your tongue and let it melt. And that got me to be really talkative. I couldn't stop talking, which isn't like me at all. So I ended up talking the little bit that I could, because, my voice, when you're dehydrated, your voice is not so great. So, my eyelids were sticking to my eyeballs. It was bad. My body wasn't sweating. It hadn't sweat for like a good 3-4 years by then. It was, I was going through water, but it wasn't doing me any good. So what ended up happening is that when they found out that I couldn't pay my bill and that I didn't have insurance, the ER doctor, and I'm going to name names here. His name was Fish. I can't remember if it was Fish Burn or Fish, but it was Fish something. And this, I really want to name the hospital and the location, but I won't for, privacy reasons for myself, but it was down south, obviously. He had me shot full of a massive, I don't know, it was 8 inches long, at least about an inch wide. The nurse came in and he was babbling about how you can't look at the doctor's notes and only you have to have a federal order from a judge to be able to look at the doctor's notes. And then he shot me full of some type of a neurological, mental illness head drug. And it literally paralyzed me. I couldn't move. I couldn't speak. My dad got upset, thankfully, and he said, "Hey, what'd you do to her?" Because I didn't know anything was going on at all. I was just, my brains were gone before they dragged me in because I was sick. And my dad noticed that there was something wrong because apparently I know my head lolled to the side and I think my tongue fell out of my mouth. But my parents started asking me questions and I couldn't move. I just could not move. I was paralyzed. It's like that damn guy killed me. And he killed me on orders of the doctor, Dr. Fish. So to make a long story short, the ER doctor ended up standing at the foot of my bed, looked in my eyes and said, "Don't ever come back here." He looked right at me. This is the same place where they arrested, while Obama was still in office, they arrested a homeless black man for going to the ER. And after he was arrested, he died 2 hours later in police custody. Not because the police did anything, but because the hospital refused this guy treatment. So maybe if you look that up, you can get a location. I'm sure that this isn't the only story out there, so who knows how many locations you're going to get. But this poor, skinny, homeless guy, and the cops were picking on him. Sorry about the film here. The cops were picking on him while he was trying to get his shoes on. He was shaking. He couldn't move because he was dying. And the hospital literally had him arrested for coming into the ER to have his life saved. And this is the exact same hospital that I went to. It's the hospital that everybody goes to in this state because this state is a very podunk hometown, state. And yes, it is down south. So anyway, to really trying to quit going off on tangents here, my parents brought me home. And I remember laying on my bed. And what was happening with me is that now there's a couple of things. Mentally and emotionally and spiritually, what was happening is that demons and evil spirits, but the most important thing is that now this is what was happening with me mentally and emotionally and spiritually, whatever you want to call it. But Jesus Christ himself with his angels came to me and started picking on me and telling me, and just the strongest word I have is harassing. They were bullying me, picking on me. They were being horrifically demonic, along with demons and evil spirits. But it was a cacophony of like swirling, writhing worms and snakes. And Jesus Christ was the king of them, the Lord of them, along with his angels standing beside all with him. And he was picking on me, saying, stuff like, I'm not sick, I'm a deadbeat. He was kicking me. He was telling me to get up, just making fun of me as I lie dying. And I was fighting him with all my might. And I finally got angry to the point where it's like he was filling me with his anger. And I got angry to the point where I finally decided that, and I'm holding to this, if it's real at all. But if there is such a thing as an afterlife and ghosts, I have made it my mission to find the doctor that kicked me out. I have made it my mission to, to wipe out that hospital. And most importantly, I've made it my mission to find Jesus Christ himself and heaven and all his angels. And I am going to kill him. I am going to take him out. If there's such a thing as an afterlife, if there's such a thing as ghosts, what have you. But this is what was going on in my mind as I was dying. I was being picked on by my God and my Savior, who I screamed out to and was in prayer with my whole life, begging him for help, praising him, thanking him for any little thing that he gave me, and he never gave me anything. And this proves it right here. So, yeah, to try to hurry this up because it's at 16 minutes already. So Jesus Christ himself was picking on me, along with his angels, along with all of heaven. And the more dead I got, the more it was angels and heaven picking on me and telling me that I'm a deadbeat, telling me that I'm worthless, telling me that telling me that I'm evil, that I'm terrible, that I'm dark, that I've done all these terrible things, when I haven't done anything bad at all. I've literally been forced to treat the very people who have abused me. I've been forced to treat them with love, even directly against my own soul. So that side of it aside, now this is the part that most adults can't take, believe it or not. But as I was laying there dying, what ended up happening is, and this kind of moves on to this other little image. I got this from a friend. It was an air plant that she had, and it was beautiful. I loved it. I never had the air plant. The air plant was dead by the time she gave it to me, but this used to be a heart. And I got it literally from a lady just down the street here from us. She's really sweet. She's an artist. There we go. Now I got it on camera. Sorry, I was trying to put it together. And yeah. And so what ended up happening is that I was laying there and I was dying. And as I laid there and died, suddenly, now I'm going to have to explain the physical aspects of this. It was like using every last muscle in your body, like you're trying to lift a train uphill, and you're think of weightlifting and turning it into an aerobic exercise where you're doing aerobics as fast as you possibly can, even faster than that, and you're doing it running uphill, and you're trying to pull the weight of an entire train with all your muscles, with all the cells of your body, with all the cells of your, even your hair, your nails, your bones, everything is fighting. That's what it felt like. My body was fighting for life. And even as my body was fighting for life, suddenly out of the blue, stuff started going limp. I wasn't able to move my body at this point. I was laying in my bed. And this whole incident took about 20 minutes, probably at the shortest amount of time, 4 hours at the longest. I have no clue how long this took. But this is what happened. So I was laying there and my body is fighting and fighting and fighting. Literally the muscles are tensed, muscles are clenched, they're working. And suddenly, even though my muscles are working really, really hard, my limbs started going limp. Just completely limp. I couldn't move at all before this, but suddenly my legs went limp. My arms went limp. My head went limp. Before long, the only thing I had control over were my eyelids, and it was the fight of my life to move my eyelids. I literally could not move my eyelids. I couldn't move. I still had control of my eyeballs, just a little bit. But it was the fight of my life to try to close my eyelids. I couldn't do it. Everything in my body just went limp. It was still fighting with all its strength, because think of like lifting a weight and you use all your muscles to lift it. And this is what dying is like. So just to let you guys know, anyone that watches this, get ready for it. This is what you're going to feel like when you die. This is a point-by-point account of what it feels. And this is why I rated this R, because most adults don't want to believe this and they can't take it. This is the part that they can't take or manage. When you die, you physically feel everything. You can hear everything. Your eyeballs dry out, so your eyesight goes fuzzy and a mess. And the more dry they get, the worse it becomes, and usually you end up getting this cloudiness over the skin of the eyeball, so you don't see anything at all. So basically, you still have sight, but it's basically no sight at all. If you have glasses, it's like, or contacts, it's like taking the glasses or contacts out and then trying to see through a white frosted mirror, frosted window. It's like that, for real, for sight. So basically, you don't have any sight at all, but you can feel everything and you can hear everything. And it stays like this, I realized, until your brain and your spinal column rot away or are cremated, which is why I'm big for cremation. And yes, you do feel your own autopsy. This is what I realized afterward. You do feel your own autopsy. You do feel your own embalming. You do feel everything that you go through. This is just fact. And that has been very hard to wrap my mind around. You don't step out of your body. There is no stepping out of your body. I literally laid there and I tried to get out of my body. I tried to get out of my body to beat up Jesus. I tried to get out of my body just because it felt so terrible. I tried everything to get out of my body. And every time I tried to move, I couldn't move. I was paralyzed. I could not move. And initially, before that, when I was still able to move, every time I tried to move, my body would move instead, just a little bit, but my body would move. So, before long, my body still felt like it was lifting weights and I couldn't move. And then it was the fight of my life just to close my eyes or open my eyes. And next thing you know, I started to lose the ability to even close and open my eyes. My whole body had gone limp. My muscles were, I still felt like my muscles were flexed and fighting as hard as they could just to obey my commands and to move. And it wasn't working. I was in the worst pain ever. I was in the worst nausea ever. I felt horrific because I was dehydrated all over. And, in all this, there was no God. And now this is the other part that most people can't stand. I swear to you, this happened. And this is the part, this is what has sent me on my search through religion. And I know I'm at the 24 mark. I just hope that it'll keep up. It was after this point, or it was actually when I was losing control of my eyelids. I wasn't able to open or close them anymore. It was getting harder and harder. to the point where I just really wasn't able to open or close them anymore. It was done. I don't know if I was breathing at this point. I didn't care. I was so tortured. I just wanted this to end. And I was so angry at God that I was going to take all of hell and Satan himself and annihilate God. And rightfully so, because here's God making fun of me as I lay dying. When suddenly, one main ball of light with other balls of light around it literally came through my wall and hit me. And believe it or not, this was a ghost of a male human being. And he came and he saved my life. He literally cast off the demons and the Jesus Christ that was picking on me. He cast off darkness. He cast off unhappiness. And he saved my life. Now, first thing he did was make me happy. And he gave me movement of my body back, which I didn't have. And then, he made me happy, and I didn't have any reason to fight, but he made my soul happy enough so that, I still didn't want to live. And even to this day, I want to live now, but I want to live now because I'm healthy. But, I'm going to get into more details later. This is a real basic. So, yeah, this is the other part that people can't take. I was saved by a human being, not a god, not a goddess, obviously not demons, not a spirit of some kind, not a good spirit, not an evil spirit. I was saved by a human being, someone who had just recently died, who, I'm just going to say, who I knew of, who a lot of people knew of. I was saved by a human being. This is the greatest gift ever, and it didn't come from a God. It didn't come from Jesus Christ. It didn't come from Muhammad. It didn't come from Allah. It didn't come from Buddha. It didn't come from, Odin or Zeus or whatever. It didn't come from, Mother Earth or any goddesses that I, know of. I don't know. I don't know of any goddesses. But that's how male-oriented the societies come. That's pretty terrible. But, literally, I was saved from death by a human being. Now, you can easily say that this is like those near-death experiencers, where from what I've studied and what I've researched, I think what happens with near-death experiences, the happy ones especially, is that when you die, your body essentially, and this has been proven medically, when you die, your entire body, right before you die, fires off every nerve in your body. Every last bit of your neurology fires off at once. So you literally experience a full body seizure. And that's kind of, it's like an adrenaline shot to the heart, and it's kind of like paddles too. And it's an attempt to save your life. Your body fights for life. And so it's attempting to save your life. And I think that's what happened to me. You can also say that it was the drugs that I was shot full of. That's a very good argument too. But I swear to God, I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that I was saved by a human being who had just recently died. And I can't wrap my head around this. I don't know how a human being managed to have the power and the authority to heal me. And I swear to God, I want to say, but I swear that this guy, he healed my kidneys. I am so much better than I was, when I was 34, and I'm so much better than I was in 2014 when I was dying. Literally this happened September 1st, 2014, I think it was. I know September 1st was like the day where, most Christians, they're like, this is the day I was born again. Well, that's the day I was born again. And not by Christ, but by a human being. A human being who believes many of the same things that I do. which is even shocking. I mean, he was more Christ than Christ himself. It's like